Hello and welcome, YouTube. So, although this new episode of Dr. Stone was a bit slow, we did get a good look at the characters we have. But before I get into that more, let's get into this review of episode 8. So, like I said, this episode was a bit slow. Now, I say that knowing that there wasn't a ton of action in the previous episode. Now, I just want to say it's not bad because with this show, it had such a strong opening. And you can debate that, obviously. But with the show like this, you had such a strong initial cast. And with all the drama that happened in the first few episodes, um, things are starting to cool down a bit, and it's good because it's allowing the world to grow and it's allowing for smaller plots like the one we find ourselves in now to develop so that later on we have a more sophisticated setting when those bigger plot points come back and are addressed. There's a couple other reasons why I don't really think it's a problem that it feels slow right now where we are on the show. One, it seems like there's going to be a bunch of characters in the village, and at least to me, it seems like we're getting introduced to these characters bit by bit, as opposed to what a lot of shows do, like Black Clover, is we get like 10 different characters thrown in our face at once, and then, all right, that's it. Like, that's the whole character. Like, yeah, you'll get character development as the show goes on, but like, that's it. This character has this quirk, this character has this quirk, that's it. You got to know these 10 characters now. It's like, no. First we got introduced to Kohaku, then the guards, then Chrome, yada yada yada, and now we have characters like Suika. And I like this because the thing with anime and what makes anime and manga so great is that it's able to introduce such a wide array of characters in one story. So how you build those characters and how you introduce them can make or break the story, and I like the way it's being done. Now, do I immediately love every single character like I did Kohaku? No. But I can definitely see all these characters growing on me. So I do like that they're not just thrown in our face. The other thing that makes this vibe tolerable is that we have a clear goal for the characters, which is to get antibiotics. So it would be one thing if they were just like messing around and like 3 episodes in, you're still like, okay, I get it. He has to get into the village, but why has he been messing around for 3 episodes? And that's not the case. The case is, and that's why I like the video game analogies, because it's almost like a video game. You have very simple tasks, and the fact that they break these tasks down, even to like subtasks, like, okay, are we going to get penicillin? Are we going to get the rock? It makes it tolerable that not a ton is happening, because you're like, all right, they're going to go get this. And I know that when they get this, something big's going to happen. Like they're going to go cure Ruri. And then they're going to find out what power she has. So although there's not a ton of like big drama, they're hyping up future episodes to come. So again, it's slow, but it's still enjoyable. Now, I spoke a bit about the cast just a moment ago, but I don't want to really get into like all the villagers. I will say though, regarding the like actual villagers and not the main cast, we got to look at what appears to be the chieftain or the elder, and he was sitting next to Ruri, and I'm guessing he's the father of Ruri and Kohaku, only because you used the word musume, which I'm pretty sure means daughter. Don't at me. I don't speak Japanese. I only watch anime. Anyway, I'm going to guess that they're his daughters. They could be like adopted daughters, but I'm going to guess that they're his daughters. So we got to look at him. We'll see how he interacts with Senku and if he's open to him. But we also got introduced to Suika, which I like Suika. I mean, I don't know how she's going to grow on me necessarily, but she was cute enough, and I feel like she adds comic relief to the cast. Again, I don't think she's going to be a major character, but I like her character. Although, watching her character, I did learn, or I looked at our cast right now in a new way, which is right now, both literally and figuratively, they're outsiders. Literally, they're outside the village. Chrome, Kohaku, and Suika can go in the village whenever they want, but Senku can't. But it's their identification and their commitment to Senku that makes them outsiders. In addition to that, like, they have a lot of things personally that make them outsiders. Suika chooses to wear the watermelon because she just wants to hide her face. So in that sense, she's an outsider because there's something about her that she's not comfortable revealing to everyone else. Kohaku is an outsider because she's not the typical woman, which I happen to like. I really get bored of the typical female characters like Sakura, where they're really just support characters and they're always like asking to be rescued or asking the main character to do a bunch of heroic stuff. No, that's not Kohaku's thing. Kohaku's thing is she's going to go out and do what she wants to do and do it on her terms. So, in that sense, she's a lot different from Ruri, who, although she's a priestess, is like the stereotypical like Princess Peach type character. And then we have Chrome, who obviously the village isn't very open to the idea of sorcery, but he's embracing it wholeheartedly. So in that sense, he's an outsider because he's exploring outside of the village for knowledge. And then we have Senku. Now, what I'm starting to notice about Senku, I pointed it out in my previous video, which was he's subtly growing as a leader. We saw this with Suika when she noted that he didn't bother to ask about the watermelon, which I didn't think was a major quality of being a leader, but it was something that pointed to him bringing out the best in others or inspiring the people around him. Now, I want to take this moment to contrast Senku to Tsukasa. Now, I've said this before, the clear contrast between Senku and Tsukasa is that Senku is very much a humanist, and that he doesn't swear to any sort of higher value or creed. He just sees the value in people or the inherent value of human life and human ingenuity, and that's it. He just wants to push himself forward, and he wants to make sure that humanity can progress. Whereas Tsukasa claims to act on behalf of the higher good, and because of that, although the people that come to meet him say he seems like a nice guy, the actual fact is that his self-righteous behavior makes him the villain, because if you don't agree with what he believes to be the righteous way of living, which is to purge and to build a new world and discriminate based on his beliefs, then you just don't have a place in his world. And that's not Senku's case at all. Senku's case is he doesn't care what your gender is, he doesn't care where you come from. He only cares what your value is in the sense of like, what do you bring to the table. This part of Senku's character was actually noted a couple of times in this episode. There were a number of times where they said something along the lines of like, oh, you appear like a villain, or he's not really a gentleman, or a villain, he's kind of just logical. And then I think it was Chrome, it may have been Kohaku, but I'm pretty sure it's Chrome. He said something along the lines of like, he's not that nice of a guy, he just likes to use you for what you're good at. And that's true. Now, all these comments make Senku sound like kind of a jerk or kind of a degenerate, but I think they're really important for his character because, again, he's a humanist in the sense that he recognizes and respects the inherent value of human life and not for the higher value that humans should be aiming for, which is Tsukasa's deal. Tsukasa's deal is humans are only good to the extent that they subscribe to what Tsukasa believes to be higher values. But Senku doesn't care about all these morals that Tsukasa claims to be the prophet of. Senku's thing is that he just wants to preserve humanity for humanity's sake. And when he comes off as like a opportunist, it's not because he has, I mean, in a sense he's acting selfishly because he does genuinely want to revitalize civilization, but there's no malintent. Although he's acting selfishly, the fact of the matter is he's not acting for some sort of crusade. He's just being a good guy in the sense that he wants to restore humanity. Now, clearly you can see that it's not that easy to exactly define his character. So I'm looking forward to how he grows as a leader and whether or not this this identification of him as like sometimes a villain but sometimes a gentleman. I'm curious to see how it continues and how further characters will identify him. One last thing I wanted to note about this episode was in the previous review, I noted that Ruri is a priestess, so she must have some sort of powers, and that could be what's going on because they talk about the story of Momotaro, which is a story in Japan, and Senku notices, how did you guys figure that out? And they're like, oh, Ruri told us. So I have no idea what her powers could be. It could be that she doesn't have any powers and that there's some sort of lineage of priests and priestesses that preserve the cultural tradition. It could be something like the book The Giver, where for whatever reason she's able to access memories of the past. Now, I'm a little hesitant to follow that second argument, only because although this is an isekai and the petrification is some sort of fantasy and it quite frankly seems like magic, because this show places such an emphasis on science, I tend to doubt that she would have some sort of magical powers. But it's entirely possible. It just wouldn't be my guess. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed what I had to say. Go go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you're looking forward to other reviews, as well as my reviews of other popular shows. Make sure to follow me on Twitter so you can let me know what you think about these shows. You can also comment in the video if you don't want to reach out to me on Twitter. And I hope to hear from you soon.